Hi, everybody. I wanted to welcome everybody back to our first Facebook Live. Just to fill you guys in, I actually live down here in what they call sunny Florida. Well, it's not always sunny. We had a huge thunderstorm and it took out my entire house. So we are finally up and going. Sorry, Sam, for making you wait. See, he left sunny Florida. Okay, so again, I just want to introduce yourself. I'm Samantha. This is my dad. For those of you that don't know, this is Sam Natole. He's going to be our host tonight. The whole idea of this Facebook Live is for it to be fun. We're hoping that you leave with some new information or some new tips. And at the end of this, we're going to be answering questions from our YouTube channel. We get a lot of frequently asked questions on there, so we figured we would address them live for all of you. And we're going to kick off the show by starting again with some hunts. Now, Sam's been hunting for over 50 years, so we're going to bring it way back to let's show you guys this right here. Ready? Sam, why don't you tell us a little bit about this hunt?
Well, that particular hunt happened back in the 70s, and ironically enough, there were 220-pound guys, me and another fellow by the name of Paul, and a big old Vermont boy named Bob Damaris, who was about 6'3" and weighed 240. He was a distributor for steel chainsaws. You'd think he'd carry that bear out by himself, but there was one small problem. About 48 hours prior to that hunt, he had a vasectomy. And he wasn't going to drag anything out of that cedar swamp. So the result was we had to skin it out, quarter it up, and get it out that way. But you know, before we go too much further, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody that subscribed to the YouTube channel. That's a blessing. And secondly, I'd like to thank Samantha, our editor-in-chief here. Who's got a daughter that beautiful? I know we all think our daughters are beautiful, but I'm a little bit prejudiced because she's mine. And you know, we have an old saying that I learned from my grandmother years ago, and I'll say it to you in English. It said that a son is a son until he takes a wife, but your daughter, all of your life. And I couldn't be prouder than this daughter right here. It's quite a blessing to have a daughter like that, and it's also a blessing for you young guys to have some of the equipment that we have today to pursue our passion, which is the hounds. I mean, back in the day when that picture was taken, we had nothing. We had no tracking collars. We had no shock collars. We were fortunate to have a radio in the truck. And that if we had one of those, we were styling. We had all the equipment that there was at that particular time. And it was very difficult to locate our dogs once we turned them loose. Many times we turn them loose the first of the month, turn them loose on a Monday, and we might not get them back, if we got them back at all, till Thursday or Friday, if we were lucky. That's why we had large numbers of dogs, so that we could hear them, and usually a large group of hunters, so we could spread the trucks out, use those CB radios to communicate back and forth, and find out where those dogs were, and then we'd keep moving in that direction, and hopefully keep them in hearing, so that we could ultimately find them on a tree. So things have changed so dramatically over the last 50 or 60 years that I wouldn't even be able to explain to you what it was like hunting back in those days when you got on a bobcat track and you strapped on your snowshoes, got on that bobcat track, and then you went. You went where the cat went. Now you might walk all day and end up at dusk. Oh, maybe the cat came back on his back track, or maybe he came back down the road 50 yards from where you started, and you'd be looking at your truck 8 hours later and wonder what had just happened. So in today's world, things are much easier, but we also have to remember that as they get easier, it's not about the killing, it's about the hunt, it's about the activity you have with your dogs, and the respect that your dogs have for you, and vice versa. You know, there's a few things that we need to keep in mind. One is, with the equipment that we now have, there's certain things that we need to bring with us, which are easily forgotten if we're not careful, that will make the hunt safer and better for you and your hounds. And I've mentioned in previous YouTube videos, the worst feeling in the world is not be able to locate that dog when he's out of pocket. once he gets out of hearing and you can't locate him because you didn't have your handheld, you didn't have your alpha system with you, or you didn't have your antenna, or something happened that for example, today when loading a dog, I shut the collar off, the TT15 collar. I shut it off because the gentleman that was with me and I trying to load one dog, another one got out. We grabbed the collar. I pushed the button. I shut the collar off. When I got to where I was going, I knew the collar had been on, but it wasn't on when I turned her loose. And there we were, without a telemetry collar, which I preach about all the time. And I always say in my videos, if you're not lazy, if you don't get lazy, there's only there's two reasons actually that we wouldn't use both. One, we don't have both, or two, laziness of not putting it on. And I'm guilty of that myself. Sometimes I just think it's going to be a quick and easy run and I don't put a telemetry collar on, or I feel like I'm familiar with the terrain and I don't put the telemetry collar on. But I'll tell you something, when I get up into the big woods, and I do that out of state on many occasions, and there's no roads for 40 miles, I use both collars. I use my GPS and my telemetry. And that's exactly what I did today. I didn't put the telemetry collar on. The alpha system was shut off, and away we go. Fortunately, we got her back within a few minutes, and we proceeded on with our hunt. We ended up treeing the bear. But these are the little things. For example, if you haven't seen one of these before, and I know a lot of you tech guys have, it's simply a little connector that goes onto your phone or your iPad, and with that, you can read your cards. You can read your SD cards. Now, what I normally do is when I take an SD card out of a camera, I put that back in there. I take the other one out, and I switch them. And on my way back to the truck, I take my cell phone, and I read the card. Pretty nice. Don't waste a lot of time that way. There's a lot of things that we can take with us.
And I was with you the last camera we checked.
You were, and we did it up with that. But you don't have, if you don't have the card reader with you. And I know some of you guys are sitting in New York City someplace and reading your camera that you've got located in Maine, and I understand that. Unfortunately, we don't have the cell signal here in many cases, and that won't work. And if you've got enough money to go and get a satellite operated one, God bless. Many people don't. So that's just one of the things that you might want to bring with you when you're on a hunt. Another little simple thing, and we never talk about it, and nobody uses them anymore, called a compass. Why not bring a compass with you? Just in case that alpha system that you rely on is A, lost, B, you fall on a rock, it smash it to smithereens, all of these things I've done, and that's why I'm mentioning it. And you have a compass knowing that, we went in north, we got to come out south. But we don't think of that anymore because the technology has made it so easy for us to get in and out of the woods. Again, I've got a cell phone. Yeah, you do. But in most of this country up here, that cell phone signal might not work at all. And I know in a lot of parts of the country, the same thing applies. So, think about it for a minute. It's not very big. You stick it in your pocket or hang it around your neck, and you've got a way to get out of the woods in case of an emergency. Okay. Those are just some of the things. You can bring medical equipment. You can bring all the medical equipment you want to carry. You can bring wound wash. If you get a dog that actually gets a puncture in him someplace, you can spray the stuff in. Antiseptic skin cleanser. These antiseptics will keep that wound clean enough so that when you get out of the woods, if you require veterinarian care, you can go ahead and do that. All right.
Yeah. So, these hounds have no fear.
They don't have any fear, and some of them are very aggressive on game. And when that happens, and a wound does occur, take care of them. Take care of it as quickly and as efficiently as possible until you get to your veterinarian. I carry a jaw spreader with me. That jaw spreader, what that'll do is keep their jaws open if you get into porcupines. Some of you guys don't have to deal with these quill pigs, but up here in the North Country, we do. And they're nasty, and we've got some videos in the past here on our YouTube channel, which show just exactly what happens to these dogs when they get into a porcupine.
Oh yeah, it's ugly.
Now, we had some questions from the YouTube channel, Sam, that we were going to address.
Yeah, let me go ahead. And if you're watching live, please drop your questions in the comments, like the video. We can go ahead and answer those live as well. Let's see, our first question is going to be from J Mac. This is right from our YouTube channel. It says, do you hunt bear with the same dogs that you're hunting cats?
Well, Jay, that's a great question. And for a lot of you guys, what will make sense is what I say next. If you do hunt both cats and bears, I don't keep a large number of hounds. I keep from 4 to 6 hounds, which to me is not a large number because, like I said, back in the day when there were 20 or 25 hounds and we needed that many in a lot of our hunts and we staggered them. So I don't keep a large number of hounds. So my goal is to have the dog do at least something great. Either be a really good bear dog and an okay cat dog, or a great cat dog and an okay bear dog. And what that does is it allows me to keep a smaller number of dogs and keep the dogs that I do have in the woods more often. So instead of just having a 6 or 8 week bear season, then they get a break during the deer season, and then we're back after cats in December, January, and most of February. So that keeps your dogs and you in the woods longer if they can do both. I personally am reluctant to keep a dog that just does bears or just does cats because I'm in a situation geographically where I can run both, and that's what I want to do. If you're in the same boat and you can run bears and and cats, that's a great thing. So that's what I suggest. And thank you for the question, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yes.
And
all right.
yes, I do run both.
All right, so our next question comes from Chris Gentili, and this is about gunfire conditioning your pups. What do you suggest to gunfire condition your pups?
Well, this all starts early on. It's like having babies. When I had enough of them. I had 5 of them, so if you try to keep real quiet in the house and you don't want that baby to don't make any noise, the baby's sleeping. Guess what? As soon as that baby hears a little noise, he's going to start wailing, okay? And it's the same thing with puppies. Don't be afraid to bang around a food dish. They don't hear for a couple of weeks anyway, so don't be afraid to bang around a food dish when you're feeding them. Don't be afraid to make some noise. All these natural noises are going to help you later on when you start maybe using a cap gun or a 22, and you're increasing the noise as time goes on, so that noise isn't a factor to them. It's just like with that baby. If you got that television blasting and that baby can sleep through that, he'll sleep through anything.
That's
so
true.
It's the same thing with hounds. Just get them used to the noise, and you shouldn't have any problem whatsoever.
All right.
Thanks for the question, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah. So our next question is going to be from Hollowbred Kennels. How often do you worm your hounds with ivermectin?
I worm them once a month, and it is not an injectable. Even though the ivermectin it says injectable on the bottle, and you do not inject it. I personally, and I'm not a veterinarian, so take any of this medical advice with a grain of salt. I use 1/10 of a cc for every 10 pounds of body weight. For example, a 50-pound dog gets a 1/2 a cc. 70-pound dog, which I don't like to keep, 7/10 of a cc. Okay, and I do that once a month orally. I'll put it in a syringe. Sometimes I'll add a little orange juice because it's not very tasteful. I'll add a little orange juice in that syringe and I'll stick it in the side of their mouth and put it in a syringe without a needle in it and stick it in the side of their mouth and down it goes. And I do that once a month. And that's great for heartworm.
Now, yeah, heartworm. And just to touch on that really quick, I'm going to just throw up a little map. This kind of gives you guys an idea geographically where it's worst in the United States. Definitely something you want to protect your dogs against. Mosquitoes transmit it. So, and then our last and final question that I just plucked off our YouTube channel is going to be from Jacob Heller. And now, do your pups stay inside with you until they reach a certain age? Or are you bringing them inside and outside? Kind of wants to know how you transition them.
Well, everybody's got a different facility, whether it's a kennel. There are also different locations geographically. Some places it's hot, some places it's cold. It depends on when the pups are born. If they're born here and it's winter time, of course, they're not going to stay outside. They stay in the house. We've got kennels set up down below here for them, and that's where they'll stay in a whelping box that kept the temperature around 70 degrees, 68 to 72 degrees. Keep them in a whelping box, and we've got. I can do some more information on that through our YouTube channel later, how to build a whelping box so that they're safe and warm and comfortable. Then I also, once they start to get weaned, once they start crawling around, I don't have a problem with taking them outside on a mild day, letting them walk around in the snow, letting them follow me in the snow, and then back inside for the remainder of the day. So it's actually a combination of inside and outside. A friend of mine told me once, he says, Sam, he says, about your dogs. He said, let me tell you something. They won't hunt if it's warmer than 80 degrees, because we bring them in the AC if it's too hot out. And they won't hunt if it's less than 30, because they come in when it's cold. So that's a fallacy. But the bottom line, what he's trying to stress is, take care of them. If it's too hot and that sun's beat, they don't have any shade, get them someplace where they will. Remember, and if it's too cold and then you wouldn't want to spend the night out there, get them in. And there's several schools of thought on that. Some people think that and say and believe that, well, if I bring them in, it's gonna take away from their coat. They're not going to be able to deal with the cold, and that's true to a fact. But when it gets to be extreme cold and wind, time to bring them in. Keep them out of the weather. Keep them out of the worst of the weather, and it'll pay you big dividends.
Right.
They get sunburned just like we do.
And they're your biggest asset when it comes to hunting.
And they get frostbite just like we do. So when you're thinking about those things, think about how you would like it out there. And they are your biggest asset. And that's why we have a love of the sport. We love our hounds. We love the sport of this. And hopefully it goes on forever. But, the antis are knocking on the door all the time about the hunting situation. We have legislation that's being passed or trying to be passed all the time here in Maine and all the other states. And that's why as houndsmen we have to stick together and project an image of, we're not killers, we're hunters. And that's a fact.
Yeah, that is.
In fact, I had an electrician here working on some smoke detectors just yesterday morning. And he said, hey, where are all your mounts? I know you're a guide, and I know you've been hunting for a long time, around 60 years. Where do you keep all your mounts? And I said, there aren't a lot of mounts. I said, because I am a hunter, but I'm not a killer. Because you can't train a puppy tomorrow with game that you kill today. If you're a bear hunter and you want to kill every bear in the woods, guess what? There won't be any more. If you're a cat hunter and you have to kill every bobcat, regardless of the value in it, of which there is none, guess what? There won't be any more bobcats. So somewhere along the line, enjoy the sport. Take the big males, which is what I try to do. And by taking those big males, I believe that I'm protecting the breed. Whether that's a scientific fact or not, I can't answer that. But the bottom line is, if it's big, we're going to harvest it.
Yeah. And save the sport for another year.
For your children and your grandchildren, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah. No, this was great. So, again, you guys, this was our first Facebook Live. I apologize for the technical difficulty at the beginning. We thank you for watching. We are going to rebroadcast this on our YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please head over that way. It's the same tag. It's Hound Hunting Bear and Bobcat with Sam Natole. There's quite a few. I think we have over close to 20 videos up there on the YouTube channel and more coming. Again, thank you for your support. And if you have any questions, if you're watching rewatching this, if you didn't get to catch it live, you could still drop your questions in the comments and Sam will be more than happy to answer them.
And Samantha, there is something I'd like to add. I would like to give a big thanks to all the hunters and the breeders and the dog people that preceded our group now. The Guy Sanborns, the Danny Lukes, the Bob Plots, the people that have actually made this sport what it is through their breeding programs. that have produced these dogs that we're now using for whether it's bobcats or bears. And these are the guys that have done all the grunt work. They've done all the genetics, they've done all the calling, they've done all the things necessary to make our breeds what they are today. Whether it's no matter what the breed is, whether it's blue tick, walker, red bone, plot hound, it doesn't make any difference what the breed is. These guys have worked hard to produce these kind of dogs that we're using today, and I'm thankful for them because these dogs today are actually, in many cases, better bred dogs than we had 50 years ago. And I want a big shout out to these guys.
Absolutely, and I'm looking forward to hopefully having them on our live Facebook and getting a chance to talk to them and letting them share their stories and how they got into it and you know, their views.
And you guys, you know, in the primary viewers here are young, in the 20 to 35, 38-year-old bracket. Okay, I've got 3 boys. I burned them out young. They don't hunt. They don't do dogs, and they don't hunt. I mean, I burned them out from when they were little fellas. Don't do that to your kids. Give them a fighting chance. Okay, let them enjoy the sport without pounding them around out there on your shoulders through swamps and everything else, so that when they can go, they won't. Some will, but a lot of them will just say, hey, you know, Dad dragged me around and I really didn't like it. And so everybody's not what you are, but you guys now are the future. You're in that age bracket where you need to not only understand what's happened in the past, but what can happen in the future. So protect our sport, and I want to thank you again for tuning in to us, our live video. Please leave the questions and comments. I don't have the answers, but you know what? I know a lot of people that do, and I'll be glad to do that research for you and get back with you on another live.
Yeah, broadcast. And I want to thank Eric Holt for joining us, and we're glad you're enjoying it. He said, "Good stuff, Sam." He's enjoying it.
Yeah, well, Eric Holt is one of those guys that had been with me through thick and thin, and we had a lot of good hunts together. And before that, it was his father.
Really?
We had a lot of good hunts together before that. Okay, so the Holt family are all a bunch of great hunters.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, guys. Well, we hope everybody has a good evening, and if you're down in rainy Florida, stay dry.
Yeah, rainy Florida. I've been telling her for years, just come home, Sam. Just come home. You don't have to stay down there. We'll find a place for you to sleep. I just built a new kennel. You can stay there.
I know. It's actually, we're going to be having, and we're going to be releasing a video of that on the YouTube channel hopefully next week, so you guys can see what actually goes into building one of these kennels. Yeah, that's going to be a good video. All right, guys. Have a great evening. Thank you, Sam Natole, a.k.a. Dad, for being patient with me and for allowing me to put this together. It was a lot of fun.
You're very welcome, Sam. Listen, if a thunderstorm in Florida is all we have to get through, we're going to do just fine.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll make this a regular thing. Every other Thursday, we'll come to you guys live. Again, leave your comments in the feed. Let us know. Oh, my husband says no. We're not moving to Maine.
I don't remember asking him to.
But he does love to come to visit, so that's always good.
All right.
All right, guys. Good night.
Thank you. I want to thank you for tuning into my video, and I hope you found it informative and maybe got your heart started just a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the bell for some future updates that we're going to have of our upcoming cat season. Thank you.